The Institute of Agricultural Research and Training, IAR&T, is an integral part of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. IAR&T is a multi-commodity research institute with a mandate covering maize, kernaf and jute, grain legume, trypanosomiasis and livestock improvement, and land and water resources management. The Institute of Agricultural Research and Training's headquarters is in Ibadan, with 6 outstations covering Ikenne, Ilora, Ile-Ife, Orin-Ekiti, Bala and Kishi, and several adopted villages, schools, and experimental stations. The Institute is the coordinator of Agricultural Development Programs, or ADPs, in the Southwest region. The Institute is being presently headed by the Executive Director, Professor James Adediro.
The Institute was given certain mandates. One of the mandates is varietal development in maize. I want to say that since the mandate has been taken up, several varieties of maize were developed. And we all know that we need to develop some maize varieties that are adaptable and adoptable by our farmers.
Maize is an important and one of the mostly cultivated cereal crops in Nigeria. It forms an essential component in the diet of majority of the people and a source of raw material for agro-based industries. Industrially, maize is used to produce alcohol, starch, pulp abrasive, oil in the pharmaceutics, and recently for fuel production. Maize cultivation in Nigeria cuts across different agroecologies, including the forest ecology, derived savannas, and the Guinea savannas. Despite maize being a promising crop that could ameliorate hunger and help to attain food security, there are arrays of factors militating against its production, one of which is the problem of insect pests. Insect pests are a serious menace to crop production worldwide. Failure to reduce the damage caused by insects on cultivated crops could lead to the total failure in terms of yield and quality of produce.
Not only humans that are consuming maize, even the livestock section is going to affect the cost of egg, the cost of production of livestock, the table birds. It definitely is going to affect, not only that, it's even going to affect the farmers' economy.
The recent armyworm outbreak in maize fields in some parts of Nigeria is of great concern because it is a threat to the food security of the nation. The pest ravaging maize fields at an alarming rate is the caterpillar of a moth known as the fall armyworm. It is a phytophagous and an important migrant pest with wide host range. It is also a deleterious pest of maize and known to be endemic to some regions of the world, especially the United States. But this is the first report of the pest outbreak in Nigeria.
On this field we have 100% infestation because none of the plants we are looking at this field is spared from the attack of armyworm, which is the pest ravaging maize field at an alarming rate. And it is really causing great damage and great loss to our maize farmers. The insects in question here that we are talking about is a moth, which is in the order Lepidoptera. And we have several species of insects in this order, but the particular one that is ravaging maize fields at this particular time is the Spodoptera species. And as we can see here, it is the damaging stage of this mold that is causing this great havoc to our maize field is the caterpillar. As we can see on these plants, this caterpillar, they live in the wall, that is in the funnel of this maize crop. And what they do there is they continue to eat the leaf, and eventually they can turn the old maize leaf into a complete rag.
And it is known to cause great economic loss whenever present.
Since this is not a pest that is common with us every year, so it's really devastated the maize field seriously. with farmers losing as much as 10 hectares, even large hectareage of maize farms were really devastated. Most of these farmers, they just do is they go to the market, buy any chemical. Some are even using herbicide. You know, people were just using anything. All they needed, all they wanted is that they don't want this pest. So we have farmers, most of them, they lost millions to this pest, especially this year.
Torí gbogbo agbára tó yẹ ká lò àtò omi gan tó yá fi jẹun à ń lò lé lórí pé kó fi lè rọ̀ wá lọ́rùn síbẹ̀ náà kò mú nǹkan kan jáde ìbànújẹ́ nìkan jẹ́ fún wa sí ẹ̀mọ́ bí a fẹ́ gbégbá lọ́dún yìí. Ìrànlọ́wọ́ báyọ̀ wọ́n bá lè bá wa sọ fáwọn tí ń ṣe kẹ́míkà kí wọ́n wá bá wa wò ó káàkiri báyìí wọ́n bá lè rí rògbò tó káàsì rẹ̀ kí ebi ọmọ pa wá kú kí wọ́n dákun wọ́n ṣàánú wa.
The activity of this pest is so insidious that its presence is noticed after the havoc is done.
It is an outbreak, so it is sudden. Unfortunately, because it's an insidious pest, the attack, the presence of the moths are not noticed because the fields were not monitored. So the only thing we see that caught our attention was just the damage, the havoc they are causing on the field.
The fall armyworm is a nocturnal pest with peak of its activity in the late evening, night, and early morning.
Their activity is very prevalent late in the evening and at night. So you can, this insect, the adult moths, what they do is they fly in, lay their eggs, which is an activity that is carried out in the night. So what you just come and see, if you are not familiar with the biology of the insect, you will not be able to know whether they have invaded your field or not. But the presence of their egg on the field is one of the ways by which you can know if they are present on the field or not.
Armyworms are sporadic pests which rarely occurs yearly in the same location. They are strong flyers and can migrate across thousands of kilometers of land.
The moment there is a rainstorm and there is wind, they move in the direction of the wind. The extent of their travel or the extent to which they can colonize a place depends on the speed of the wind and the direction of the wind.
Rain showers after a long dry spell is one of the possible factors that could lead to a pest outbreak.
One of the factors could be a rain shower after a long dry spell, which coincides with the emergence time of these moths and which makes them to find food that are suitable for them on the field, like corn. They prefer corn because they normally attack the grassy family. Then again, another factor that can determine the population of the outbreak that we have is the aggregate number of the moths that is present on the wind that they are moving with, as well as the direction of the wind, as I've said. And that is what we can see on the field here, a vast devastation by this armyworm.
The source of introduction of the pest to Nigeria is still highly questionable. It could be introduced across borders, moth migration by flight, or through imported maize materials. Thus, in quick response to the outbreak, an urgent survey was carried out by a team of scientists at the Institute of Agricultural Research and Training, IART Ibadan, with the following objectives: to create awareness among the farmers of the presence of the pest.
One of the points, one of the facts that we realized while we were on the field was that majority of the farmers, the method of application of all the insecticides that they were using was somehow faulty, because they were not aware about the ecology or the biology of the pest they are trying to control.
To know the widespread of the pest, to ascertain the extent of damage caused by the pest, to quantify the economic loss as a result of the insect attack, to find possible control measures, and to educate farmers on best farming practices.
Immediately our institute, Institute of Agricultural Research and Training, immediately we noticed the problem. To ascertain the problem, just like I said, we went immediately to the field to at least to confirm whether this pest is everywhere. And once we have done that and we confirmed that the pest was everywhere, what we did then was to organize a sensitization workshop to all stakeholders that are involved ilé yẹn kò kì í ṣe ìdàgbà tó báyìí gan tó fi jẹ́ ẹ wo kí ni gbogbo ìgbẹ́ tí àwọn ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n wa tó ń sọ yẹn ká máa rí lára kíní yẹn so a fẹ́ ká wò ó ká wá gbé wa lọ sí ibi tí wọ́n ti ṣe wọ́n ti apply treatment itself ẹ jẹ́ ká wọ́n ní kókó tó dá sọ mo ní láti ya kíláàsì lẹ́yìn wá mo ní láti ya àgbàdo yẹn ìyá tó lọ sókò ròyìn síta so inú ṣe mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń wo inú ẹ̀ náà wà ṣe ti rí. There are several ways by which these pests can be controlled. One of them is that our cultural control measures. And the first thing is that we should have a good culture of monitoring our field. So as a means of cultural control, it is good to keep good field border. Make sure that your field borders are clear, they are clean, so that when you notice, it will be easier for you to notice the movement of insects or any pest inside and outside your field. It will be very easy for you to monitor. Another thing is that we should learn to plant materials that are outsider tolerant or resistant to pests on our field, because we have had reports that susceptibility of materials with a bit of tolerance to borers were less. The susceptibility of them to this particular pest is not as severe as other planting materials that are not resistant material. Again, what I would like to say is that, like when you plow your field, make sure that you leave your field like for a week or two, so as to expose the other stages of this insect that are inside the soil to natural enemies like bug. So this caterpillar that we are looking at, they will enter the soil to pupil. That's more reason why when we plow our land, we should expose them to it so that sun can come and pick up all these pupae that we have there in the soil. The other control measures that we have noticed that is effective is the use of chemical, because this is a sudden attack, and the first line of action after monitoring, just to salvage these acres of land that has been devastated by this pest, is the insecticide should be applied to the maize plants. The center, the wall of the plant should be the target, because that's where the insects that are causing the havoc, they are staying. As we can see in this field, the field is the same as those ones that have been infested by the caterpillar. All the fields, they were planted at the same time. But after the use of chemicals, that's why we have this field coming up now. You can see the difference between the ones that we have sprayed and the one that we are yet to spray, as we have shown you earlier. So already we have applied chemical treatments to this field, and we are very happy to see the recovery rates of the plants.
Sensitization was also done through several radio and television programs. It is also of pivotal importance to state that the sensitization and various researches carried out by IARNT has by no small measure helped farmers to safeguard against any future occurrences of pest and disease outbreaks on maize.
We did made some recommendation to the government, and one of our recommendations first is to resuscitate the Federal Pest Control Unit. The government should fund the research institute so that we will be able to do what we are supposed to do, because if we don't have adequate funding, we will not be able to move out there and do what we are supposed to do. Like the farmers, when they had problems, they say, unfortunately, we are not agrochemical industry. We can only recommend, we can only do field trials to help them find out which one is effective. But we cannot really, in terms of maybe helping the farmers to procure or to, in any little way, help to control their field, which I believe this is one of the interventions that government could have done. When we have the earlier outbreak, government should have been there to really help the farmers to spray their field, because the outbreak was beyond their own control. So I encourage even the government to put up policies that will encourage farmers to insure their field, because lots of them, they incur a huge loss this year due to all these pest outbreaks. So farmers should always be encouraged also to do insurance of their farm.